It's talk time now, and let's turn our attention to another story. The police have rescued the students and staff of the Nigerian Turkish International College, Isheri, Ogun State, abducted 10 days ago from their school.
Earlier today, the Assistant Inspector General of Police, Zone 2, Ayodele, had assured they will be freed in the next 24 hours. Kidnappers fled on Friday as parents insisted that the school should be shut until all the 8 persons abducted regain their freedom.
They claim that most of their children have been traumatized and that their security is not guaranteed. Let us tell you that this is the trend now in Nigeria, as this is not the first time kidnappers will proceed to school abducting students, and that's our focus right now. All right, there has been very interesting developments in there, but we have joining us now the Commissioner of Police, Lagos State, Fatai Owoseni. Good morning.
Good morning.
And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And why did you chuckle when we read that report?
Because of the controversial nature.
Oh, of the development?
It's the talk of the town, and everybody is saying it, and it's something actually that it's getting the attention of everyone now.
All right, let us put it this way. It started from the Niger Delta when it comes to the issue of kidnapping. We know that it started from the Niger Delta, expatriates, and then to oil workers, and then to other people, to politicians. Now it seems the strategy is changing, and students, schools are the focus. What is the concern of the police?
Students, schools, individuals, homes. The concern of the police is the same concern of the members of the public. We share the same concern that Nigerians share. We are equally worried, and of course, with every incident that happened, look for what can we really do to put an end to this. But as it's always said, it is not possible to completely eradicate crime. And when you look at crime, it's like as the society changes, as you have more people in the community, as we advance in technology worldwide and in Nigeria, different types of crime emerges. What you were having...
Well, what reason have you been able to find out that is responsible for this? Are these children endangered species, as it were? Really, there must be a reason why the attention is now shifting to the schools.
It's not as if attention is shifting to schools, because if you have like 10 cases of kidnapping, you probably may not have anyone in the school. If you look at the trend, the way it is happening, the way criminals, the way their mind work, they look for soft targets. Okay. They look for vulnerable areas. They look for people that make themselves vulnerable. And when it comes to that, it's apart from preventive action, apart from proactiveness from security agencies, it also comes back to citizens' responsibility, ownership of our own security as a person first, as an office, as an institution. So it's an all-embracing thing that you know that if I walk on the road, if my phone is not snatched, I can be kidnapped. Because kidnapping or kidnapping for ransom is just the kind of thing we are having now as a trend. And we've always said it's not just about Nigeria, it's everywhere. Other time you read in the paper that children that were kidnapped almost 20 whatever years ago were found somewhere in the US. So it's the way the minds of the criminal work that, okay, let's look for soft targets. Let's look for areas that are porous, because they also don't want resistance. So where they see an opening, where they see someone somehow being careless or making himself or herself vulnerable.
You take
they will strike
advantage.
them. That is it.
All right, now that we have seen from Lagos to Ogun State, several schools have witnessed this trend. Is there any strategy, deliberate strategy by the police to ensure that this doesn't happen going forward? Because if we put in comparative terms, children and adults, exposing children can be more devastating in the long run than even adults.
You are right. It's traumatizing. But I would also want us to take that language, that it's been happening severally.
Okay.
In Lagos, we've had 2 schools in a year or a period of 2 years. In Ogun State, you're just having that one. So using that language severally will not be appropriate.
Okay, so you want
this three has happened within a range of about
1-2 years.
1-2 years.
Yes. So
that never used to happen before at all.
That is why I said that, you know, crime, the type of crimes changes. That is what we're having now. But be as it may, what are we doing to really work with the people? I know that in Lagos and all other police commissioners, as directed by the IG, have been working with various skills. It is also the responsibility of school proprietors, of parents, to also put some precautionary measures. If you are building a school, for example, as the cases we've had, the Turkish school, when we had the Babington Macaulay, in those days, it wouldn't be anything wrong to put a school right inside a bush of no place, because they would say that remote areas are conducive for learning. That was then. There have not been advanced in technology for people to apply in committing crimes. But you now have situations where, when you have those places built, how much of threat analysis, how much of security compliance, basic minimum security standard had been met by the schools. We've been working with various school proprietors. But as with us in this country, everybody's role, what everybody is supposed to be done with regards to security, is seen as the work of the security agency alone, especially the police. If I buy a land now, I don't want to find out whether infrastructures have been laid, whether there is an access to the place, whether it is swampy, I have to put stones to climb. All what I know is that I want to be a landlord. I want to be a business owner, and police must provide security for me. It does not work.
So there's a need for a paradigm shift. Don't depend on the police for everything.
That is
your
it.
own part.
It is not possible for you to depend on the police alone. Your security starts with yourself. Take, for example, that school, the Turkish school, remotely located, surrounded by swamp, bushy one for that matter. The guys, the criminal elements that went to commit that crime must have, done something preparatory. It was said that a hole was dug on the fence. It wasn't done on that day. The bush path was cleared for their escape. It wasn't done on that day. What is the work of CCTV cameras? How many private security guards do the school have? If you have all that in place, do you even say, okay, we are employing private security guards to provide security for us? What are those tools they have?
Be that as it may, there is need for reorientation. What is that bit you can do to create some kind of awareness beyond what we are doing now in schools and in primary schools and secondary schools? What is the police doing?
If there is any institution that has been doing that, the police has been on the lead. We've had forum with school owners, but as I tell you, it is something that you give security advisory. It is a country that a lot of people don't listen to security advisories. It is one thing for you to offer. It is another thing for the people you are offering it to go and put it into practice. We've had interactions with the schools, the government schools, the private schools. In Lagos, for example, we have in place an arrangement with most of the schools. And as I sit down here, because of the experiences we've had in the past, we have those schools that are remotely located, that are operating boarding houses, that we in place a kind of measure that we have some policemen with them. And the ones that are running day schools, we also have an arrangement as to, okay, when people are dropping their children, when they are picking their children. We have that in Lagos for now. But with all that, you can still not 100% stop any of the incidents that will happen.
Okay, from what you said earlier on, would it be right to say that maybe the school, or are you saying the school, for instance, the Nigerian Turkish school that the kidnapping just took place about a week ago, would you say that they were a little careless or carefree on security of the students?
I want to say that somehow they've also not adequately covered the school. If you've been to the school, a large expanse of land, how many private security hands have you employed? If you have just 4 whole private security guards in a school like of that nature with the fence, and what is next to you is a swamp, apart from putting CCTV camera, what is also bad in putting guard dogs in some of the places? Security is expensive. The government alone cannot carry and shoulder that responsibility. And when you look at the number of policemen, you cannot cover every inch of this country with police. So it behoves on you as an individual that when I'm doing this, I will factor all this. Imagine in a place like that with the CCTV camera and you have enough private hands. It's only in Nigeria that we rely so much on security to provide
how much of those cameras do you have as a Nigerian police? How much of those cameras can you afford, and how much of them do you have?
No, it is not now the responsibility of the police. It's you, as a business owner.
Even the ones, even in the areas, areas where you man, how many of those CCTV cameras do you have?
There are cameras that are deployed in some states. In Lagos State, the government is trying to put it up. But what I'm saying is that it's only in Nigeria that private business owners that are making profit rely on the police to provide security for their business premises. If you run a business and you're making profit, you also need to put security cost in your planning. It's as like, oh, it's something we can get free. We can just get police deployed to us. If you are, part of your business plan is to also make provision for how do I secure my business premises, because you are making profit from that. But no one, if you look at most of the companies, it's more or less zero allocation to security, apart from multinationals. We are in this same Nigeria, especially in Lagos. Go to most of the multinationals. The first thing they talk of is what we call MOS within the international community, minimum operational security compliance. If you don't have it, even as their staff, they will not allow you. If you are going to go into a house as an international staff of any multinational within the international organization, the first thing they look at is, oh, concertina wire. They will tell you, oh, don't stay on this floor, stay on that floor. They will talk of even evacuation in case of emergency. These are things that we lack in this country. And when you sit business owners down and you tell them this, they think of the cost first. It is what is paramount in their mind is the profits they are going to make. If you look at most of those schools, these are elite schools. Go and look at the fees that are paid. But the fraction of what is given to securing the environment, even when the private security guards are employed, it's not as if they are vetted. You just see some old men carrying sticks there.
We'll come back to that. That's a lot.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Yes. Let's go on a break, and we come back to dwell more on this. We have the Commissioner of Police, Lagos State, Fatai Owoseni, with us in the studio. Stay with us.
Glad to have you back. It is still TVC Breakfast, and we are looking at the emerging new trends in the area of kidnapping, which are perhaps going deeper into the schools that we have in Nigeria. And our guest in the studio is the Commissioner of Police, Lagos State, Fatai, Owoseni. But before we go back to our discussion proper, let's roll out some information for you.
Now, there are controversies already as to if capital punishment, popularly called the death penalty, should be handed on kidnappers. In Nigeria, death penalty is reserved for crimes such as armed robbery, murder, terrorism-related offenses of late, rape, kidnapping, treason, and mutiny.
With the recent cases of kidnapping, especially high-profile ones, some state governments have enacted laws targeted at punishing kidnappers. Let's dig out more details.
Now, kidnapping cases in Nigeria initially started in the Niger Delta region as an immediate solution adopted by restive Niger Delta militants to draw global attention to cases of environmental degradation and abuse perpetrated by the oil multinationals in the region. But now it has become a money-making venture for many idle youths.
The rate of kidnapping in Nigeria has risen considerably in the last 10 years, and records have it that at least 1,500 people are kidnapped annually in the country. Let's look at some factors that have been linked to the increase in the rate of kidnappings in Nigeria.
Now, first, the widening gap between the rich and the poor. Lots of people. I need to ask a question from here. Now, social issues, social factors. A lot of people, sociologists or even psychologists, may come up with different theory, but you have been dealing with these people on a daily basis. What could be responsible for people going into these kinds of crimes, so to say, even when they know that there's a death penalty or the consequences afterwards if they're caught?
There shouldn't be any reason for anyone at all to engage in the kind of thing we're having now. Take the schools as an example. These are innocent children. Whatever grievances that those criminal elements have at all, the children are not the cause of whatever is their failure in life.
And they cannot provide solution anyway.
Somehow. So my take is that there shouldn't be any reason at all for anyone to...
So sometimes there could be the reasoning of, okay, these are the children of some of the people who are depriving us of this and ensuring there's no this, or as the case may be.
You know, there are different schools of thoughts.
Okay.
I actually don't want to agree that anyone is depriving anybody of livelihood. It's also, I don't take it as that way. Okay. People would talk about poverty, unemployment, and whatever. But you will find out that the Nigerians, most of the people that are actually poor, they don't go to commit crimes. They strive to see what they can do to earn a living. Unemployment, yes, people have been talking about it. But when you analyze it very well, you also want to think that there are some other ways that people can get employed. In those days, graduates, the era of SAP, most of the people that graduated that did not get work, they came up with the initiative. Some people will go to Abeokuta to go and buy tie and dye. Then, that was when what popularized this cart pusher that are carrying trash from houses. Okay. I saw friends, younger ones, graduates, who go to knock at houses. Oh, we can paint a wall in your house for you for just 10,000 naira or 5,000 naira. Do you have a garbage to trash? And that was how the private partnership in collection of waste started then. You have also some places, I'll talk of Lagos now. You have that side of Igbodu, Agbowa area, where they have farms. And in some of the cases we have there, we've talked to the farm owners. Oh, you have farms there. Engage some of the locals so that apart from them being watching the place for you, they will also earn a living. But you have a situation where most of the youths in that area, refuse to take up that work, to the extent that people now have to look at the situation we find ourselves in this country now, that ordinary tiling and whatever, you have to go to Benin Republic,
and
you have
Togo.
to go to Ghana, you have to go to Togo, to go and bring people to come and do that. Meanwhile, we'll have talents here that are wasting away. Rather than some of these fellows, some of these youths going into the farm as farm hands or putting themselves together, 5-10 persons. This is our land.
But that's what
I'll
your
say that's
federal government
upcoming.
says now, diversifying
Yes.
agriculture.
No,
so they need
what
to
I'm
go to the
saying
farm.
is that the fellows, the youths that are supposed to be gainfully employed, they refuse. Rather, they look for cheap money. They now serve as informants to criminal elements rather than sweating to work. Even the guys, the fellows you have at work now, some of you have been in this profession for the past 15, 20 years. You will see young people now come because you are probably riding a Toyota. Someone that has just started work a year or 2 years ago wants to ride the same car that his MD is riding. Greed, avarice, loss of value completely.
But in terms
It's a
of
combination
prosecution,
so many things.
you expect that to be a deterrent, but there are no prosecutions.
No,
Why?
there are prosecution. There are so many cases hanging on. That is why sometimes when people come up, unfortunately for the Nigeria police, we carry the burden of the failure of every institution in this country. When you talk of prosecution as well, the police we arrest is not the police that will prosecute. Take the Asian countries, for example, where the drug problem is their problem. They'll tell you that if you carry drug, you are going to be killed. Here, you have kidnapping cases. Take the case of the Oniba, which we're giving publicity to the prosecution now. You are talking of criminal elements, kidnapped a traditional ruler, killed 2 persons or whatever. Yes, there is rule of law, but at the same time, shouldn't we think back? Everyone has a share. It's the police that carries the burden. If on technical ground, those fellows are released one way or the other, it is the police that has not done his work. Okay. What of the legal practitioners that also go to represent them in the court? Because these are clear cases. And that is why you see we just under the fad of, okay, this is international convention, whatever. Those international conventions are made to be domesticated to the particular society. But we speak big grammars here. We'll say because it happens here, it happens there. If you have a problem that is peculiar to you and there is a convention, look at all the UN conventions and whatever treaties. Some of the countries that are prompting us to say, go and do this, go and do that, how many of them have they ratified in their country? So you have to adapt the law to your peculiarity. Okay. You are seeing that someone is there that has kidnapped someone, he probably collected money, he killed. Yes, the rule of law allows that it should be defended. Okay. But at the same time,
all right. Let's come back to this. When we come back, we'll have more of this. Let's go on a break, and when we come back, we'll be having an additional guest on the program. Stay with us on TVC Breakfast. Right, if you're just joining us, you're watching TVC Breakfast, and we are discussing the spate of kidnapping and what the security agencies are doing about it from current trends going on. And we have with us in the studio the Commissioner of Police, Lagos State, Fatai Owoseni. We've been talking about this. And joining us right now is former chairman of Owoseni local government, a political analyst, Ayodele Adewale. Ayo, it's good to have you, and Happy New Year.
Same to you.
All right. Now, before we ask you questions, let's bring in Foladele to give us a perspective of reactions on social media in here. Fola, it's good to see you again.
Hi again, Salami. Good morning to our guests.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. Okay, so very sad one. And of course, people are reacting. So let's see some of those reactions. Work Intelligence says, kidnappers keep targeting schools in Nigeria because no one is stopping them. Ubang Ekpo says, I declare an end to terrorism kidnapping, corruption, and the likes of them in Nigeria. Amen.
A praying country, Nigeria is.
Amen.
Ayodele Joseph says, kidnapping has become lucrative business in Nigeria because the government, in its wisdom, created this criminal atmosphere for all. Evie says, doubt if the average Nigerian can be shocked anymore. Kidnapping, Fulani headsmen, hunger, lack of basic amenities, etc., etc. Gabriel Abuliman says, it's a shameful that the police have allowed kidnapping to thrive in Nigeria. They failed to check it.
Okay.
Okay, so you're starting with the police.
So someone's blaming the government, someone's blaming the police. You were talking earlier about old people in security who aren't even qualified for the job. Who do we actually blame when a kidnapping case happens?
All of us. Security is everyone's business. It is not solely government business. It is not solely the work of the police. Your security starts with you. If you make yourself vulnerable, something will happen. And the saying in Yoruba language that if you are following Russia and you now say because God is guiding me, you look for a thread to climb a palm tree, you will fall down. So you have to look for the rope that is meant to climb the palm tree, and that is it. So all of us has a blame.
Okay. Ayodele,
well, I don't associate myself with that fact that we should leave our security to self. If you're saying that, then you have a banana republic, and I think that's why you have the police establishment there. And I think the police should up their game. They should stop compromising, because the more you compromise, the more you give this criminal element the leverage to continue to abate in their criminal act. And I think the government should also overhaul the police force. You understand? You should start with their welfare. If there's no adequate welfare,
the Commissioner of Police said the police can't be everywhere. Like the schools in particular, that the police cannot be everywhere, that if you're going to set up a school, then you should know that you have to put security in place for the students. And in any case, those students pay very much to be in that school.
Well, I don't know if you have studied other clients. There is never a society where you have one-to-one police to a citizen. You understand? There are structures, there are systems. If there's a breakdown of law and order, what is the response time of the police getting there, first and foremost? Now, what are the adequate data, information, you understand, intelligence that the police are gathering? It's not about carrying guns and, debarring people from committing crime. Before the crime is committed, at the point of initiation or conception, what manner of tactics is the police using to get intelligence reports? This criminal lives among us. And that's why we continue to say that we must have state police, local government police, because there are flashpoints everywhere. I was the chairman of a local government. I know where these criminal marauders are. I gave information to police at several instances. You'll be amazed that these criminals, you still find them in the office of the high echelon of the police, even snapping photographs with Commissioner of Police in the past. I was attacked severally, reported the matter. I would have been kidnapped, would have been killed. Nothing happened.
All right, let me. All right,
let me let
it's my floor.
Yeah.
Fatai, would you like to respond to that?
I will quickly respond to that.
He touched on response time. That's actually
it is
what
uncharitable of him to say that police compromise.
My file is before your table.
It's a politician. They use the thugs, they procure the weapons for them. After the election, where do those weapons go to? So it is uncharitable to use that word, that police compromise. When they talk of response time, utopian nature, and with just rhetoric,
yes.
That is why I talk of domestication. Internationally, it's been said, response time should be 10 minutes, where you have addresses. Every other thing being equal, where you have good road network. Some of us that are in Lagos now, if your parents are coming to visit you in Lagos, you have to go and station an Okada at the junction of your house.
Well, there are helicopters. I'm aware that the state government
helicopters have places to land.
Okay.
If you have been attacked in somewhere in Ijebu now, where it is not motorable, and even you don't have address. How many of us have addresses in this country and in Lagos? You are talking of climes where the road network is there. You press a Google map, it will show you. Some of the places in Nigeria are not even on that Google map. So you are now talking of it compared to where you have every other thing being equal. The response time within Ikoyi will be different between from the response time in a place like Ejigbo. We need to be factual. He has also said that his file is with me. I agreed. He was attacked.
On the 6th of May.
He resorted to self-help. He was a chairman of local government. He left.
But you said security starts with you. Do we
No,
take your word
the
for it
self-help
then?
I'm
The
talking
self-help.
of is that
I
there
have
are
the
two
arm guard.
cases
Please hold on.
there. I wouldn't have expected them to raise that because he knows I'm in the picture. And the story, if we want to be factual, these are things that we shouldn't bring here because
Okay,
it's an
all right.
individual thing. He knows the story very well. Civil defense had followed him to a place to go and pay condolence to his father-in-law.
Yeah.
In the first instance, the civil defense shouldn't have followed him. He wasn't entitled to a personal holiday. He went to another organization to take that. And when they got there, there was a kind of altercations where bullets were released anyhow. In fact, rather than talking of police compromising, he should be praising the police. Just like in every case, we need to appreciate our police because if the matter is looked at very well, somehow the fellow that followed him, that attempted to kill, we had to go and rescue
all
the
right.
situation. and everything.
Gentlemen, I will
Let's
indulge
stick
you.
to the topic. Yeah.
I will ask that we stick to the topic
That
right now
is
because
it.
that
And
is
because
a
he
little-
raised it
Yeah.
to say that it's
All right.
fine
Fola,
with the police.
I would want to hear about it
thank you.
after.
No, thank you.
Don't worry, I'll tell you the story
The
afterwards.
floor is no
Thank
longer
you so
yours.
much.
Yeah. Now, Ayodele, let's come to what we were discussing earlier on. Now, when it comes to reporting a case, the first consciousness of security. Okay, you were giving your narrative earlier on. What you personally, what do you do first to check yourself and keep yourself secure before you even bring in the security agency at any time?
Well, the first thing first is that you must make sure that your door, the entry points are properly taken care of and all of that. You must make sure that you know your neighbor. Like when I was in the office as the chief security officer of the local government, I carried out this sensitization operation, Know Your Neighbor. And that enabled us to even identify human cannibal. There were people that were eating human beings in Festac Town. You understand? That we detected and we informed the police. So for the CP to have said that...
Again.
It's a narrative. It's a
Again.
narrative it's to answer
Kidnapping, please.
to kidnapping. You understand? The first thing you must do, call the police, which I did. Called the DPO, called the area commander. They came. The criminal was around. They refused to arrest criminals. This happens everywhere, to most people. You understand?
Okay.
You go to the police, you document your incident, you go to the CP, if you have the privilege to, which I did. He looked at the matter, lambasted politician. I said, good, you have information. Take us to court.
Okay,
AK-47
we have
magazine
just
was
about
removed.
2 minutes.
Was removed with 20 bullets.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. We have just about 2
Let's
minutes
just
to
have
the end
your
of it.
reaction.
What you have been there.
Yes.
When it comes to talking to people, you have been influential at the
Yeah.
level to which you operated.
Yes.
What would be your advice? Tips to
Yes.
security consciousness amongst people
Yes.
against kidnapping.
Well, my advice will be, first and foremost, protect yourself. Get information about your surrounding. If your surrounding does not permit adequacy in security, the first person you should inform is the police.
Okay, all right.
Now,
Let's leave it at that.
Now, you inform the police. That does not mean that you must not continuously to watch around yourself. Because even the former president of this country, President Olusegun Obasanjo, did say that he's disappointed about the police structure. And I think the government should look inward into the police structure. And the police also must remove favoritism. If you have said somebody is harboring criminals, you have the intelligential report in your hands, take the person to court. Don't keep the file under your desk for over 1 year.
All right.
Because these things will continue.
Okay, let's
not
quickly
until we are
have
killed.
the CP
right.
on the issue of death penalty in Lagos State now.
You say,
It's a bill right now. If it's
Yes.
passed into law,
As I've
will
told
that
you,
help?
The situation and, of course, the magnitude of the crime determines what happens. If that is what is going to be the solution, or be it, if there's another solution, But the first thing is security consciousness. We should be conscious of our security. All the rhetorics that we are doing in this country, we should stop it. It is not about the structure of the police. It is not about whether you have local government police. It's not about whether you have state police. The structure does not determine the wherewithal to work. The logistics that you deploy to the police to work, even advanced technology. There is a country where an ambassador was shot right, he was talking. Do you want to say they don't have what it takes to police? Rather than proliferating, rather than creating structures upon structures, which it's what most of the political elements have been talking.
All right, Commissioner.
The few successes recorded,
Yes.
was when we deployed the intelligence platform, rather than creating
All right,
miniatures.
Commissioner,
put it into
in
intelligence
1 minute, can you give us tips on how we can be more security conscious people?
The world over now, it is consciousness. Everybody should live, should be responsible, civic obligation. You have a self-obligation to yourself. It is not only in Nigeria. If you listen to Obama when he was making his valedictory speech, citizens' responsibility. And that is what everybody should be conscious of, that we are responsible. And as we've always said, if you see something, say something.
All right.
And of course, all of us will be fine.
All right.
All right.
Fatai Owoseni, Commissioner of Police, Lagos State, thank you for coming on the program. And Ayodele Adewale, former chairman at Dufin Local Government Area, Lagos State, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.